G'day guys. When I first started fly fishing, after a while I fell into something that I call the intermediate trap. Now, I'm not talking about intermediate fly lines. This is something completely different. What I'm talking about is something that happens to intermediate level fly fishers. And it happened to me. When I started out, I could barely cast. I was a pretty useless fly fisher, to be honest. But I still caught a few trout. Now, when I started getting better and my casting started improving, I felt all of my skills were improving, suddenly I started catching less fish and I couldn't understand what was happening. Well, today I'm going to explain to you what that's all about and why I went through this slump in the middle of my fly fishing journey that I call the intermediate trap. So at the beginning, when I started out, I could barely cast. I had trouble getting my fly line out, my leader and fly would land in a heap, and I felt like I couldn't really effectively cover the parts of the pool that I wanted to get to. I couldn't cast to the other side of the pool and get my fly there where I felt like all the fish were. So after a while, I started saltwater fishing and I got some casting lessons and my casting dramatically improved. I could double haul, I could generate a lot more power and speed in my cast, and I could get my fly over to all the sections of the pool that I wanted to cover. But for some reason, my catch rates were going down and I just didn't understand what was going on. Now, it took me quite a long while to figure out what the big mistake was that I'd been making. You see, I was using longer casting instead of moving into a better position to fish, and that had some really negative effects on my trout fishing. Firstly, I was putting my fly line over a whole lot more water and spooking a lot more fish with my fly line. But secondly, and more importantly, I was straightening out my leader because I was making those longer casts, and that meant that the presentation of my fly on the water was actually much worse than what I'd been doing before when I couldn't cast properly. The second that my fly hit the water with a straight leader, it was dragging. I was getting really poor presentations to these fish. So the big lesson that I learned from all of this was that we can learn great casting skills when we're doing casting lessons or in the park, and those skills are really, really important. But what you have to remember is that long, impressive casting doesn't impress fish. Ideally, the trout shouldn't see your casting. They're not looking at your casting. What they are looking at is your drift, the quality of how well your fly floats down the water. And that was the big mistake that I was making. So if you want to be a more effective trout angler on the water, concentrate more on the drift of the fly. Making the right presentation of the fly is much more important than making a long, impressive cast through the pool. Get yourself into a better position, make a shorter, more controlled cast, fish a really long leader so that you can make those beautiful slackline presentations that actually catch fish. And if you want to learn how to do that, I've done a video about making those slackline presentations. It's going to be up here. See you there.